Welcome to iClicker. In this video, we'll provide a complete overview of iClicker Cloud version 5.0 with all the information you'll need to use iClicker Cloud successfully in your classroom. Please note that this is an end-to-end training, and it's similar to what you would experience if you attended a live training via the iClicker website. If you'd like to attend a live training, all you need to do is visit iClicker.com, navigate to the bottom of the screen, and click Contact Us to sign up for training. Here's a preview of what this video will cover. We'll start with a quick iClicker overview, then we'll dig deeper into the iClicker Cloud Instructor options. We'll review the different response options you can pick for your students, and I'll quickly discuss iClicker Reef student pricing. The bulk of this video will focus on how instructors use iClicker Cloud before, during, and after class. Lastly, we'll review the support options we provide for instructors and students. Getting started with iClicker is quick and easy. With iClicker, there's no need to feed questions and answers into a separate system. Instead, iClicker floats on top of whatever presentation tools you're already using. Students can participate using the iClicker Reef application on their mobile devices, laptops, or tablets. They can also use the traditional physical iClicker remotes. You have the flexibility to choose what will work best for your classroom and your students. iClicker also encourages students to come to class using our attendance tool with optional GPS. You can set attendance to auto-run on class days, and your students can easily see their attendance record in their iClicker Reef account. With iClicker Cloud, you're able to provide and collect feedback instantly, then adjust your teaching accordingly. This is one of the aspects of iClicker that both instructors and students love, being able to give and receive feedback about the pace of class, student understanding, and student comprehension make it easy for you to teach in a responsive, effective manner. As you ask questions, you create instant study guides for your students to use after class. With the iClicker Cloud Instructor app, you're free to move around the classroom, starting and stopping polls using the app. You can also access the results of your polls, even while they are running, giving you a new way to observe how your students are learning. You can also grade poll results from the app, giving you another level of freedom in your classroom. For those of you familiar with the blue iClicker Instructor remote, you can continue to use that tool with iClicker Cloud just as long as you plug in the iClicker base. Lastly, iClicker has many options for grade management and connecting to your campus's learning management system, making it easy for you to manage your iClicker grades. Here's what you'll need as an instructor to run iClicker Cloud in your class. iClicker Cloud requires the iClicker Cloud desktop software, a free instructor account, and we recommend having whatever computer you're using to run iClicker Cloud hardwired to the internet. This is recommended but not required. If you're hardwired to the campus internet, a blip in the campus Wi-Fi won't knock you out of a session, and you'll lessen the load, however slightly, on your classroom's Wi-Fi. You have the option to use the iClicker Cloud mobile app on your mobile device or tablet to control polling questions and your presentation. This allows you to walk around your classroom while you teach, rather than being tethered to the podium. If you decide to allow students to use iClicker remotes to participate in your sessions, you'll also need the iClicker base hooked up to the computer you're using to run iClicker Cloud. You'll also have the option to use an instructor remote to control your presentation. Here's what your students will need to participate with iClicker. Be sure to communicate early to your students what devices you'll allow in class and what they'll need to do to be ready to participate. Students will need an iClicker Reef student account. All new student accounts include 14 days of free access. After that period, students must purchase a subscription or enter an access code, unless your institution has a site license. Students will need a participation device. That can be a smartphone, laptop, or tablet with the iClicker Reef mobile app or the iClicker Reef website. These options require robust classroom Wi-Fi to support quick and reliable iClicker sessions. Students can also use iClicker remotes if you allow them. Students must still create an iClicker Reef account and enter the iClicker remote ID into their account. A subscription or access code is not required for students participating with physical remotes only. iClicker remotes also work without Wi-Fi, as long as the iClicker instructor base is plugged in. Students who opt to use a mobile device will need to purchase a subscription if your institution does not have a site license. iClicker Cloud is always free for instructors and institutions. For students, iClicker Reef subscriptions start at $14.99 for 6 months if purchased through the iClicker website or app. Your bookstore may have more affordable options, so be sure to let students know where they can find their best price. All student accounts include attendance, polling, quizzing, and study tools. And one student account can be used in multiple classes in the same term for the same price. Now that you know the basics of iClicker Cloud, I'm going to walk you through all the steps you'll need to follow to get up and running with iClicker in your classroom. You can pause the video as I go through each step and follow the steps in another tab in your browser, and you should be ready to test out the iClicker Cloud software by the end of this video. Here are the steps instructors take when getting ready to use iClicker Cloud in their classes. Ideally, you would start this process after you've set up your courses in your learning management system. First, you need to set up a free iClicker Cloud instructor account. Next, set up a course in iClicker Cloud. Then make sure the settings are just the way you like. You'll also want to complete whatever steps needed to make sure that your iClicker Cloud grades appear in your learning management system's gradebook just the way you want. Once you have your iClicker course set up, it's time to message your students and let them know what devices they can use in your course and how they should set up their iClicker Reef accounts. Next, you'll add questions to your lecture slides to ask your students in class. Our iClicker faculty advocates recommend you ask a question every 10 to 15 minutes during class to keep students engaged and to get feedback on your lesson. Lastly, you'll need to download the iClicker Cloud software on the computer you'll be using to present lecture slides to your class. Let's walk through these steps one at a time. We'll start the account setup process by going to iClicker.com. Then click Create an Account. Next, click Instructor. Here is where you'll put in your account details. Input your primary institution, your discipline, your name, email, and create a password. Agree to the privacy policy and the terms of use and click Create. Please note that part of the terms of use includes some language about when we're allowed to email you. We will not spam you. However, we will email you if there is a significant issue that our users need to be made aware of. Click the Create button and you'll have the credentials you'll need to log in as an instructor at iClicker.com, as well as the iClicker Cloud desktop software. I already have an iClicker account, so I'm just going to go to iClicker.com and click Sign In, then Instructor. This is my personal laptop, so I have my credentials saved on this computer, and I can just click Sign In. Now that I've created an account and I've logged in, I'm ready to set up a course. Setting up an iClicker Cloud course is fast and easy. All I need to do is make sure I'm logged in as an instructor at iClicker.com and click Create New Course. First, be sure to select which activities you'll be using in your iClicker Cloud course. Attendance-only courses do not require using the iClicker Cloud desktop software and can be run entirely from the iClicker Cloud instructor website. Your institution will be filled in based on what you entered when you created your account. You can modify this field here as needed. You'll need to put in your course discipline and your course name. You'll need to specify your start and end date. When your course ends based on this end date, it is automatically archived. An archived course no longer appears in student searches and cannot be joined. However, students who have already added the course will continue to have access to the content as long as they do not remove themselves from the course and as long as you do not delete it. Below you'll find optional information. We recommend filling in the optional information as it is helpful to your students when they search for your course in iClicker Reef. For example, there could be multiple sections of the same course at your institution, or you might teach the same course at different times and on different days. When you're happy with the course details, click Create in the upper right-hand corner. Once you create a course, the course name and details appear in the Active tab of your courses list. You can also click the Archive tab to view any courses you may have archived. Once you've created a course in iClicker Cloud, you can go in and customize your course settings. To access your course settings, log in and click on the name of the course you wish to customize. Then click Settings. Your course settings are organized into 6 tabs: Course Details, Grade Sync, Attendance, Clickers, Polling, and Quizzing. Click on Course Details to modify the information you input when you first created the course. It's important to fill in as much of the requested information as accurately as possible. This information is used by students to find your course, and the choices you make here can have an impact on how iClicker Cloud behaves for both you and your students. Next to course details, you'll find grade sync. I'm going to talk about grade sync at the end of this section because your options depend heavily on what's already in place with your institution's learning management system. In the attendance section, you can modify your attendance settings. If you would like to have attendance taken when a class session is opened, make sure that this is toggled to on. This is the default. An attendance record will be generated each time you start a polling session. If you don't want attendance to be tracked, simply switch attendance off. Below, you'll have options to adjust settings for alerts, auto run, and location. In the alerts section, you can opt for iClicker Cloud to highlight students with a certain amount of unexcused absences. In the auto run section, you can set attendance to auto run during each class. First, you must enter accurate meeting days and times in the course details section of your iClicker Cloud course details. Then, click the box on auto run here and specify how long you would like the attendance window to be open for your students. Lastly, you have location settings. You can choose to run attendance sessions without requiring students to confirm their geolocation. However, you can also choose to require and set location for attendance by clicking here. If you choose to require location, geolocation technology will recognize when students are physically within range of your classroom as they check in. This prevents students from checking in from their dorm rooms, apartments, or wherever they may be. When setting up location, your browser may notify you that iClicker Cloud is requesting your geolocation information. By allowing access to this information, you can easily and automatically set your location. If you are not able to share this information, or your course is in a different location than where you currently are, you can manually select your location by looking up your campus, and then zooming in on the location. Place the blue dot in the spot that best represents your classroom. Then you can change the radius. We recommend starting from a large radius and then working your way down as you get to know how geolocation behaves with your classroom. When you're happy with your attendance settings, you can move on to clickers. The clickers tab of your course settings is where you can allow students to use iClicker Remote to check in for attendance. You can allow iClicker Remote students to be checked into class when they answer a polling or quizzing question while attendance is running if you have this box checked. Because of this, if you have students using iClicker Remotes and you're using attendance, you should not close attendance before starting your first poll or quiz. This area is also where you can customize your settings to allow students to participate in class with iClicker Remotes. And this tab will help you manage your base settings. Adjusting the base station wireless frequency is especially important if you have an instructor who is also using an iClicker base in a classroom nearby. After plugging in your iClicker base, you will want to verify that your instructor remote and base are set to the same frequency, and you will want to let your students know what frequency you're using. It is a best practice to use the same frequency all term. In the polling section, you can customize your polling settings. In the sharing section, you can decide whether or not you want to share pictures of your screen with student devices. iClicker Cloud has the ability to send screenshots of your polling questions to students. You can choose to do this when you start a poll, end a poll, or not at all. You can also choose whether or not you would like to send class results to students after the poll. In the scoring section, you can adjust how participation points and performance points are awarded. Lastly, if you would like to allow flexibility for how long a poll is open, it is recommended that you select for the timer on your polling toolbar to count up from 0 seconds, so you can manually select when each poll will end. If you prefer a standard time for each question asked during a polling session, you can choose for the timer to count down instead. If you're running quizzes in your class, click the Quiz tab to select how many points students will earn for each correct answer. The last area in the settings that I'll review is Grade Sync. The Grade Sync button is set to off by default. Instructors who are not using a Grade Sync option can manually download and upload grades from the gradebook. Turning the Grade Sync button on will start to walk you through the Grade Sync setup process, with options that are customized for your selected platform. The options you select here depend on a few factors, like what your LMS administrator allows on your campus. When you're happy with your settings, click Save. Let's talk a little bit more about your LMS options and Grade Sync settings. iClicker's gradebook makes it easy to keep track of student grades. You can access your student grades from within the iClicker Cloud desktop software or online at iClicker.com. You have 3 options for adding grades from iClicker Cloud to your Learning Management Systems gradebook. First, you can manually download grades into a wide variety of formats, including Excel, and upload them into your LMS manually. The next 2 options are to integrate iClicker Cloud with your LMS. These 2 options will sync grades from your iClicker gradebook into your LMS. Simple LTI integration allows you to push grades from iClicker Cloud over to a single column in your LMS course gradebook, resulting in a single aggregate score. This option requires a quick one-time setup by a campus administrator and will also require students to connect their iClicker Reef accounts with their LMS course. This option is best if you want to manage most of your polling and quizzing grades from the iClicker Cloud gradebook. Enhanced Grade Sync allows you to pull grades into your LMS from iClicker Cloud, one column per iClicker Cloud session. This option also requires setup of deep integration by your campus administrator and is executed almost exclusively in the LMS. It also requires students to connect their iClicker Reef accounts with their LMS course. This option is optimal if you want to manage your iClicker grades from your LMS gradebook. If you will be utilizing either of these integration options, be sure to check in with your campus administrator for more information about how this is set up on your campus. We also have resources available on iClicker Cloud's support site that will walk you through each of these integrations. Once you've set up your course, customized your settings, and decided how your students' iClicker grades will go into your official gradebook, it's time to message your students and let them know what they need to do to get ready to participate with iClicker Reef in your class. Here at iClicker, we're working to make the student onboarding experience quick and easy. We have a collection of resources developed by active faculty members who meet with the iClicker team regularly to get their input on how they use iClicker in class with the greatest impact. To that end, we have syllabus language and first day of class resources that make it easy to communicate with your students what they will need to do to get ready to participate with iClicker in your course. We have customized and customizable resources for every situation. Simply search for Student Onboarding on the iClicker support site. Here you can see we have student support for every scenario our instructors use, including syllabus language and first day of class resources. Our most effective instructors include information about iClicker in their syllabus and make an announcement in their LMS that students can refer to outside of class. Once you've set up your course and you've talked to your students, you're ready to start dreaming up questions you'd like to ask and adding them to your lecture slides. Remember, iClicker Cloud floats over whatever presentation software you like using, and there's no need to preload questions and answers into a separate system. As you present your lecture and come upon polling questions, iClicker Cloud will capture each question as you turn on your poll. When your students have finished answering, you can pull up the results, discuss them with your class, and grade the correct answer. This gives you the freedom to skip questions and to add questions on the fly as needed. Of course, in order to do this, you'll need to download the iClicker Cloud desktop software. The last step you'll need to take before your first class with iClicker Cloud is to download the iClicker Cloud desktop software to the computer you'll be using to project your lecture slides. Point your browser to iClicker.com, then click the Downloads link at the top of the page. You'll need to select the option that's right for the type of computer you're using. Once you click on your choice, a zipped file will download. Unzip or extract the folder and save it to the destination of your choice on the computer. If you're using Windows as an operating system on your campus, you may be asked to enter a password when you try and install it on the campus computer. For this reason, we offer a version of our software that requires no permissions to install. This may be a step you need to save until the first day you're physically in class. No worries. The iClicker Cloud software is tiny but mighty, downloading and installing in about 90 seconds. Now that you've completed these steps, you're ready to run iClicker Cloud activities in your class. Once you've completed the setup process with iClicker Cloud, you'll be ready to use it in your class. Here's what you'll need to do during class. At the start of each class, most instructors are familiar with setting up a computer in the classroom and firing up, say, a PowerPoint. An iClicker is designed to click neatly into that routine. During class, you can run attendance sessions, ask polling questions, and administer quizzes. You also have a few options when ending class, depending on what you and your students need. I'm going to demonstrate how you can add these activities to your classroom routine, creating classroom experiences that are memorable and effective. Here are the steps most of our faculty take when they start class. First, they set up their computers, whether it's a personal laptop or a podium computer supplied in the classroom. Please note, we recommend a hardwired internet connection. So if you're using iClicker Cloud and a Wi-Fi connection and you're experiencing issues, consider establishing a hardwired connection. Log into the iClicker Cloud desktop software and start your class session. You'll need to have the iClicker Cloud desktop software downloaded and installed on your computer before coming to this step. Open the desktop software. Next, log in. Hover over the name of your course and click Start Class. As you can see, my main menu screen transforms into a small toolbar. I can make it even smaller by clicking on the cloud icon, collapsing the toolbar, making it very easy to tuck away on my desktop. The iClicker Cloud software remembers where you place it, so next time I open my software, it will appear right where I want it. Once you've signed into the software, open your presentation software. Now you can warm up the projector and invite students to join the classroom Wi-Fi in your course. Make sure your students are using the classroom's Wi-Fi. This is especially important if you're using geolocation with attendance. Lastly, if you're allowing students to participate using iClicker remotes, you'll need to plug in the iClicker base. The first time students come to class and you invite them to join your iClicker session, you may have 1 or 2 students who have waited to set up their account. Luckily, account setup can be completed very quickly. All students need to do is go to iClicker.com or open the iClicker Reef app. Then they can click Create an Account. They'll click Student, they'll find their institution, confirm it, and then let us know their first, last name, email, and student ID. I already have a student account, so I'm going to sign in now. I simply put in my email and password, then click Sign In. Now I'm going to add my own course as a student. This is something you can do with your instructor credentials if you'd like to do some testing. First, I click the plus button in the upper right corner. I confirm the institution I put in when I first set up my account. Then I can search for either the name of my course or I can search using my last name. I'm going to use my last name. I click on the name of the course, and then I click Add this course. These are all steps I can complete outside of class, and emailing your students with instructions will make your first day of class with iClicker pretty smooth. Still, the process for a la minute registration is pretty fast and can be completed in class. In fact, some of our instructors prefer to make signing up for iClicker an in-class activity, so they have as much control as possible during the process. Right now, it's class time, so I'm going to click on the name of my course, and now I'm going to join it. Joining the course creates my attendance record as a student. Soon I'll be able to view a small calendar that makes it easy to keep track of when I've attended, been late, or missed class. If you're using geolocation with attendance, iClicker Reef will check the student's location when they join the course, and they are ready to answer any quizzing or polling questions you might have for them. Now you're ready to run polls, the most popular activity our instructors engage in. They're fun, they're challenging, and they reach our students' brains in brand new ways. Let me show you all the different ways you can ask polling questions of your students. With older versions of the iClicker Cloud software, you would have a menu bar and a toolbar to manage. Now we've simplified the software so you only have one item to manage on your desktop. You can quickly switch between activities without ending your session. When the toolbar is expanded, you can click on the checkmark icon to start a polling session. You can click on the pen and paper icon to start a quizzing session. And you can click on the people icon to view your in-class attendee. Clicking on the red X will end your class session. To start your polling session, click the checkmark. When the polling option is selected from the class toolbar, polling options are displayed in the same toolbar. You can return to the main class toolbar by clicking the back arrow. The green circle with the white triangle starts a polling question. This icon is like the shutter icon on a camera app. When it is pushed, it will capture whatever is on the screen and send it to student devices. So make sure you're displaying the view you want your students to have. The drop-down menu lets you change the question type. The bar graph icon lets you view and grade results. And these ellipses give you more polling options. Here, you can turn on anonymous polling, or you can change the timer to count down instead of up during polls. To ask a multiple choice question, be sure to have selected the proper question type, then have a question ready to ask your students. When everything is ready, click the green circle with the triangle to turn the poll on. You can minimize the toolbar while a poll is running, and this pulsing icon appears to indicate that a poll is running. If you minimize the toolbar further, the cloud icon will pulse to remind you that a poll is running. Here's what it looks like for students. They get a screenshot of your question, and they choose the response they feel is correct. When you feel enough time has passed on the poll, simply push the red button to stop the poll. Now you can click on Results to view and grade the results. Simply touch an answer to turn it green and mark it as correct. You can have multiple correct answers, and touching a correct answer again will return it to ungraded. Remember, you can always view results and grades after class at the Instructor website. Clicking on the results icon will close the results panel. Let's ask another question. Here's an example of a short answer question. Simply go to the drop-down menu, change it to short answer, and then click the play button. Here's what it looks like for students. Students can respond with up to 140 characters like a tweet. You can see when you've received a response on the toolbar. When you're satisfied with the number of responses you've gotten, simply click Stop. And again, clicking on the Results button will let you see how your students responded. You can click on an answer to mark it as correct, or you can manually enter a correct response. Short answer responses can also be viewed as a word cloud. Obviously, this is more interesting when you have a lot of responses. Clicking again on the results will hide them. Let's try another question type. This is an example of a numeric question. Simply select the question type from the drop-down menu, and then click the play button. Here's what it looks like for students. Students can answer with up to 8 digits, and they are limited to using numeric responses. When you're happy with the number of responses you've gotten, you can click the Stop button. Again, you can click on the Results button to view how your students have responded. In the results window, you can also click on this Compare button if you want to compare different results to different questions. Clicking the Results button will hide the results. And now you're ready to ask another question. Remember, questions can always be graded after class as well at the Instructor website. Here's an example of a target question. With a target question, students are sent an image of a question, and they touch where they feel the correct response is. Simply select Target from the drop-down menu, and then click the play button. Here's how it looks for your students. They simply touch where they feel the correct answer is, and then they click Send. The student can move their response as many times as they like until you stop the poll. To grade a target response, click on the Results button, mouse over the question and click on it, and then simply draw a box around where you feel the correct answer is. You can also make this response window much larger. Click Save when you're happy, and it will automatically grade the question. Lastly, you can ask anonymous questions with iClicker Cloud. To ask an anonymous question, first make sure that you have the right question type selected from the drop-down menu. Then click these ellipse buttons. Select Anonymous, You'll see that the polling toolbar turns black to remind you that you're asking anonymous questions. Turn the poll on by clicking the play button. Here's what it looks like for your students. Students select the answer they want to send, and then you'll notice that their answer disappears. This makes it so that their anonymous response cannot be viewed by any of their classmates sitting around them. When you're happy with the number of responses you've gotten, click the Stop button. Clicking on the Results button brings up the results of the poll, but please note, anonymous responses cannot be graded. So be sure to only use anonymous polling when you do not need to communicate a correct answer to your students. To turn off anonymous polling, simply click the ellipses again and click on Anonymous again. With iClicker Cloud Quizzing, you can replace the use of paper quizzes in your class for low-stakes assessments. With quizzing, you distribute a sheet of up to 99 questions, and your students use their iClicker Reef accounts to answer, completing the exercise at their own pace. Students using iClicker 2 remotes can also participate in iClicker Cloud quizzes. This is an easy way to do a low-stakes quiz, answer questions during a lab session, or complete a course evaluation. I have a very small quiz right here. To start a quiz, I click the Start Quiz button, and then I let it know how many questions I have. Then I click Start. When my students and I are ready, I click the Play button to get it going. Here's what quizzing looks like for your student. You'll notice that students are not given screenshots for the quiz. This makes it easy for you to keep the questions and answers to your quizzes concealed, especially if you're teaching multiple sections of the same class. When students are happy with their answers, they click Review. They can go back and change an answer. And when they're satisfied, they click Submit. They state that they have not participated in any academic dishonesty, and then they click Submit Quiz. You can monitor how many quizzes have been submitted here, and you just click the Stop button when you're happy with how many students have responded. Once the quiz is finished, I click the Results button to grade the quiz. I'm given a bit of warning language here, so I don't accidentally display all of the answers to all of my students during class. Click View Answers and Results, and then you can grade these questions as easily as you grade regular polling questions. If you leave this Share Results and Feedback after the quiz ends box unclicked, your students will just see a general score for the entire quiz. This is what it looks like for your students. Students will see that they've participated in a quiz, but when they go to click on it, it will say, your instructor has not granted access to the results for this quiz. If you'd like students to be able to see more results and feedback after the quiz is over, be sure to click this results box. You can also enter small comments here. Here's what it looks like for your student. They'll click on the quiz, and they'll be able to see how they answered and how many points they earned. Clicking on a question will let them know the correct answer, and will let them read any instructor feedback you might have left for them. When you have completed all the in-class activities you wanted to run, it's important to properly close the iClicker Cloud software. Start by clicking the red X in the toolbar. iClicker Cloud will ask you if you'd like to end your class with an exit poll. The exit poll will ask your students to rate their understanding of the day's session with a number, and they have a field where they can send you a private message of up to 1,000 characters. If you use this feature, be sure to let your students know when you'll review their responses. Ending class with or without a poll closes your class session. When you're ready to leave your classroom, simply X out of the software. Once you're out of the classroom, you can easily access everything you need to manage your iClicker activities on the iClicker Cloud Instructor website. After class, instructors often need to manage their class roster, attendance data, and polling and quizzing data. It's also the time that instructors transition grades from the iClicker Cloud Gradebook to their LMS Gradebook. Students also continue to use iClicker after class by using iClicker Reef's study tools. Let me show you how these features work. You can access your iClicker Cloud student roster by logging in as an instructor and clicking on your course. Once there, click on People to see all the students who have added your iClicker course. Here, you can remove students who may have dropped your course. Students you remove from a course cannot add the course again and thus cannot see your polling questions. Click here and then click on Remove Students to restore a student. In the Instructors tab, you can add an instructor to your course if you're co-teaching or you have a teaching assistant. You can also click on an individual student to learn more about their performance in class and to see how they responded to individual polling questions. To manage your attendance data, click on the Attendance tab on the Instructor website. This is where you can see the attendance records for all of the students in your course. If you ever need to update the attendance status for a student individually, simply click on a cell, change the status, and you can leave yourself a note if you want to. Click Save. Now you'll see a gray triangle in the corner of the cell indicating that you've manually changed it. If for some reason you need to delete a session altogether, simply click on the session name and then click Delete Session. Finally, if you want to download any of this data into a spreadsheet, just click Export. Select the sessions to download and then click Export. To manage your polling and quizzing data, click Session History on the Instructor website. Here you can export all of your session data. You can click on a polling session if you want to see more about the questions you asked, or if you need to regrade a question. You can also click on a quiz if you need to do some additional grading. After class is when most instructors connect their iClicker grades to their official gradebook. Instructors who have set up a grade sync with iClicker and their LMS previously will have a sync button visible. Clicking the sync button will open a separate window asking which sessions you would like to sync. Those grades are then pushed to the LMS gradebook for students who have completed the LMS sync setup. Students who have had their grades successfully synced will show a green dot next to their name. Students who have yet to complete the syncing process will have a blank. A yellow triangle indicates a student whose grades have encountered an issue with grade sync. Often, this is due to a student being dropped from your LMS course, but not your iClicker roster. You can resolve this issue by removing the student from your roster in the People tab. Instructors working without grade sync have the option to manually export their grades by clicking the Export button. They can export their grades in a number of formats, and they can choose exactly which sessions they want to export. For students, iClicker Reef is a valuable tool both in and out of the classroom, thanks to iClicker Reef's Study Tools feature. With Study Tools, students can flag your polling questions to create flashcard packs and practice tests. To enable your students to use Study Tools, be sure to share images with students and grade their polling questions so there's a correct answer to focus on. This wraps up our time together going over the iClicker Cloud website and 5.0 desktop software. If you still have questions, I'd love for you to visit iClicker and our support site and consider signing up for a training if you'd like to meet personally with our support team. We also have support options for you and your students. At iClicker.com/support, we have a knowledge base you and your students can search for answers to common questions, setup resources, and troubleshooting. You and your students are also welcome to contact our support team. They can assist you via email or over the phone. New tech in your classroom should not be a new tech support job for you, so be sure to pass this information along to your students. Thanks so much for watching and happy teaching!